of course, you can find, I don't think we ended up grabbing any of these tweets. It's okay. But, you can find, various people saying, anybody who's, anybody who's saying that, AIPAC bought this congressional seat is, they're doing tropes, they're promoting anti-Semitism, except of course the people who like AIPAC who are like, yeah, good job, guys. You got rid of that horrible comment. But the comment I made about this at the end of the Jacobin article, I said the usual pro-genocide ghouls will claim that telling the truth about AIPAC buying the seat is anti-Semitism because it promotes a narrative about Jewish money. That's nonsense, and not just because Jewish peace groups worked hard to re-elect Bush or because plenty of pro-Israeli donors are Christians. The deeper issue is that parsing the accurate observation about AIPAC as a claim about Jews, thereby equating AIPAC with the entire Jewish people as if entire ethnicities were hive minds that held collective political opinions and collectively acted in the political process, is itself deeply anti-Semitic, which I would definitely stand by. But I have to say, and I should say but, and I have to say, right, that I keep seeing people who are making it harder than I would like to make that argument as cleanly as I would like to make it. All right, so I'm going to give you a few different examples of what I'm talking about. And before I bring on Dan, we switch gears and I bring on Daniel and Matt. So I guess let's start with the Iran thing. Jake, you want to set this up?
Yeah. So some of you might have seen this ad that went viral on Twitter X, which is it's purported to be from like Iranian television. I haven't independently verified that this is where it's actually from, but the point is that it went super viral. So it's a propaganda ad, anti-Israel about Israel's participation in the Olympics. Do we want to set anything else up, or should we just check it out and then?
Yeah, I would just say there's a nearby version of this ad that would be a lot easier to defend, but they made a really unfortunate visual choice here that should be pretty obvious pretty quickly.
The visual choice, the anti-Semitic visual choice is that he has a bald spot, right?
That's exactly what I'm getting at. It's like what the fuck? That's not true. No, it's having a menorah tattooed to his back. I think is doing some pretty direct Israel equals Jews stuff, which is, the two groups of people who really like to do this are Zionists and anti-Semites. Right?
Yeah, most of us don't actually have a menorah tattooed right on them. I personally do, but it's actually very, very rare.
I mean, I got a Gentile question over here because
what is
it? What's the question?
But my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you have a tattoo, you can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery?
I forget if that's. I know it's definitely supposed to be true. I forget how true it is. It is the plot
like
of a
Ben
Curb Your
Shapiro come out
Enthusiasm.
to say you can't do that because I understand he's the Pope of the Jews.
It's the plot of a Curb Your Enthusiasm
Okay,
episode.
well there you go. That's
so
might as well be in the might as well be in the Gemara if it's if it's a curb, that's right up there. I think I think that this is again you're going to make the point that Israel has blood in its hands for Gaza, etc. Very good stuff. I think you're really undermining that point when you do this thing that codes it as a claim about Jews. This is a guy praising this powerful ad. Seems like we went out of our way not to name and shame randos, right? This is somebody with a 50,000 follower Twitter account. I think we had a couple of others of these. Dominic Lee, another one like that. I think there's one other. But in any case, that's like a sort of low end of the spectrum example of what I'm talking about. I think a extreme end that even if you think I'm being ridiculous about the first one, I hope I'm going to lose my mind if I'm wrong about this, and the chashful people be like, what, right? But I hope this one is straightforward. Is that over the weekend, I don't know how this started originally, but I saw all of this stuff on Twitter, all of this discourse on the phrase Zog. That would be, somebody calling themselves a Marxist who's defending the use of the term Zog, right? That's Zionist occupied government, which is a term.
Or owned government. Oh, this guy's.
Oh, he was suggesting maybe owned would be better than.
I got you.
But Zionist occupied government is the original thing. That's a term that was literally invented by neo-Nazis, I think back in the 80s. It was popularized by David Duke, who I hope everybody's clear, David Duke doesn't give a shit about the Palestinians, right? That's, neo-Nazis are not motivated by opposition to apartheid and ethnic cleansing. They're generally fans of those things, right? Maybe they don't like it when the wrong groups do it, but I don't think they get too hot and bothered about it because they're also doing it to people they don't like. This is a term that was literally invented by neo-Nazis, and I've been seeing all this Twitter discourse over the weekend with people who are like, oh, what, right? That's another one. So somebody getting mad at Natalie Wynn for objecting to the use of the term Zog. So other than being frequently used by reactionaries, how is Zog an inaccurate or even a problematic phase? Guys, literally, the term was invented by, and I mean, reactionaries is really burying the lead, by neo-Nazis, right? They're the ones who invented it. And when they invented it, the thing they coined the term to describe has nothing to do with Palestine, right? They're using, the occupation of the West Bank and all that as an analogy for how the Jewish conspiracy controls the US government, right? That's their point. This is a pretty typical response from the people who are like, what? Why can't we use this term? Cedar Salvos, I have no interest in amending my language to make irredeemable racist scumbags who haven't said a word about opposing genocide feel more comfortable, etc. Right? And I think that there is this horrible dynamic here. And the people who I think are most at fault for this, because they exercise the most influence on, I guess what we'll just non-materialistically call the discourse, right? But the people who are most responsible for this are the people who cheapen and demean the accusation of anti-Semitism by throwing around constantly as a cheap smear of people who are speaking out against the genocide in Gaza, right? They're the most responsible for it because through their nonstop crying wolf about this, they've desensitized a lot of people to the charge, right? You just hear it and you just register it as, oh, well, this is just what they always say, right? But before I say this, let's just get to the example that sort of inspired the whole segment, because I think this is, pretty jaw-dropping. I think it's maybe not as bad as literally using terminology borrowed from neo-Nazis, but also in some of these other cases, who knows where ideologically some of these people we're talking about sit exactly, right? And this is from a unfortunately pretty prominent lefty account. So it's the Revolutionary Blackout Network, which is a podcast that lots of people watch. Says Kamala Harris married her AIPAC babysitter. Meanwhile, the dumb progressives are shocked she doesn't support an arms embargo on Israel. So the person being referred to as her AIPAC babysitter there, and there are a couple more tweets where it continues the thought, is Doug Emhoff. Doug Emhoff is Kamala Harris's husband, and he has dumb, shitty political opinions because he's Kamala Harris's husband, and like, if he didn't, they wouldn't have enough in common to be married. Kamala Harris sucks. She's a corporate centrist Democrat. She always has been. I actually think it's weird how much amnesia there's been about that, since she became the Democratic nominee. So of course she has normal establishment political views, and of course her husband has normal establishment political views, and every single Democrat Republican with normal establishment political views is an apologist for Israel, right? That's part of the package. That's a basic American establishment foreign policy view. So of course he has those views too, just like Kamala does. I'll bet she spent a lot more time talking and thinking about it because she's a politician and he's not. This guy was originally an entertainment lawyer, and there was other kind of lawyer. And he, when he started dating Kamala, she wasn't even in a position where she had anything to do with foreign policy. She was still, she was still doing her Cop Mala phase in California, and they were set up in a blind date. If you're saying that he's her AIPAC babysitter, the only way this thought makes sense is if the inspiring premise in your head is AIPAC equals Jews, Jews equals AIPAC, right? And I'm sorry, but this really is ludicrously anti-Semitic on its face, right? I mean, the only thing, why is he her AIPAC babysitter, not the vice versa, right? Or, are his views on this any worse than Kamala's or Biden's or anybody's, right? Like, the only way this makes sense, it's because he's Jewish. And it's not just sort of normatively objectionable because, I'll just be a hugely cringy lib here and say that I think racism is bad. But, just in principle, although I do, but I have to say, given that all day, every day, the actual AIPAC types went to smear everybody who is speaking out against apartheid and ethnic cleansing in Israel as an anti-Semite, shit like this is essentially working for them, right? I mean, to the extent that if you want to be an anti-Zionist in the United States 2024, you're in a war with these people, right? By which these people, I mean, AIPAC, defenders of the Israeli government. You're in a war with these people for hearts and minds. People who say stuff like this are collaborators, right? You're a wrecker, right? And I wouldn't advocate actually doing to them what was classically done to wreckers, but metaphorically speaking, you are in effect working for the enemy. Stop it. Okay.
I do have to say, I know we're gonna transition right now. I do think that would be a really, really great old-fashioned rom-com. You know what I mean? Like, she was the attorney general and he was her AIPAC babysitter. Watch them fall in love. Yeah. I want to see it. I want to see it. If anyone wants to make it, but yeah, that's probably not what happened, but it would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if AIPAC is, I mean, actually, I would support AIPAC randomly hiring people to date local politicians
Honey,
around the
and
country.
I like that he is also the honeypot. I mean, he did look pretty handsome in his younger days. I don't want to hate on anybody, but just this mild mannered.
It's like, we did a we have born identity this guy from birth for this one purpose, to seduce this person that we can sense will someday be the Democratic candidate for president.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just thinking that maybe they had like a dating app, like AIPAC or something like that, with, just an R at the end.
Yeah, exactly.
And she just swiped left or right or whatever it is.
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive postgames on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.